everyone. Welcome to the Glow podcast. I'm here today with a very exciting guest. I have Kristina from Evolve Integrative Psychotherapy, and I'm super excited to talk with her. But if you are new here, we are Tailored Marketing, and we help health, wellness, and longevity businesses grow their practices through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested, drop a comment below. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to talk with you. If you would, I would love if you would just go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here as well, chatting with you.
Yes.
And great job on the podcast. I always rooting for females, business owners, rooting for them every day, all the time. So
Yes.
to introduce myself, I am currently a practice owner. I own a practice in New York. I am a couples therapist by specialty.
Okay.
Has always been interested in psychotherapy, relationships. Our practice is a trauma-informed practice. We also are a very inclusive practice where we pride ourselves on providing integrative services to all sorts of communities to provide as much support as possible. I'm also a certified sex therapist and a certified complex trauma-informed therapist. My group now consists of almost 20 team members, which I'm proud to say we've been growing consistently and gradually, but I'm looking forward to expanding and hopefully, going nationally and being in every state to have a piece of Evolve available for everyone, specific with the theme that we've created in the practice where everyone is welcome. So it's been 2.5 years now.
Awesome.
Still in sort of like beginning stages. But speaking of marketing, I actually am very well versed in digital marketing. It's actually something I'm really passionate about myself. I'm also a full-time entrepreneur. So I think that type of spirit that I carried through the years with myself and being so passionate about business and marketing and outreaching and reaching different types of audiences has always been something that I worked really hard on and actually enjoyed doing.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. And I mean, I feel like to grow your practice as quickly as you have to at least somewhat know something about marketing, right?
Absolutely. You learn so much the hard way. You have no choice. You have to learn on the spot. You know what they say, entrepreneurship is just, falling out of the airplane and then the parachute opens while you're dropping down.
Yeah.
That's exactly the experience that I've had
Yeah.
with my practice, but it's long work hours. It's a lot of commitment, discipline, everyday routines, and just mundane things that you have to complete on a daily basis to come to a place of execution where you feel proud and accomplished and where you start seeing really positive outcomes. Thankfully, I do have a really strong work ethic. That's never been an issue for me.
Yeah.
A workaholic, unfortunately and fortunately, but because this type of work doesn't feel like a job to me, like it's a work that I have to go to, it's something that I enjoy doing so much. It's part of who I am. It's part of my life and part of my personality, I would even say. That's why it feels like second nature. I never really treat this as a job, as work. I treat this as something that I do with so much passion and conviction and commitment that every day I start my day with excitement, which not many people, unfortunately, can say about the work that they do.
Yeah.
For me, there's always something to do, and that keeps me going, that keeps me growing and evolving. And I've always been the type of person who wants to go the extra mile, who wants to learn the extra skill, who wants to see what else is out there. I've been driven so much by curiosity, and that's really helped me in like difficult times in my life.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. And so I guess like you kind of just talked a little bit about it. You have a really strong work ethic and, what made you kind of want to start your own practice? Because I assume that you were practicing before starting Evolve, but did you see kind of a gap in the marketplace where you were like, people just aren't doing this properly, or like maybe I can do it better?
Not to sound like I'm a little bit conceited, but I've done it better.
Yeah.
And I'm comparing to the experience I've had with the other
Yeah.
practice. Number one thing is that I just don't like working for anybody. I
Yeah.
always, like, in my core, I always knew I needed to be on my own. I needed to be the boss, kind of, you
Yeah.
know. And I like taking over a leadership role. For me, it's extremely fulfilling. It's the type of role that I take a lot of pride in. I lead with empathy. I lead with communication. I lead with inclusivity and diversity. I rarely see that type of leadership present in any other place that I worked for,
Yeah.
whether it's in a corporate environment, whether it's in a higher ed, whether it's a private practice that I worked for. Leadership has always taken a role of management
Yeah.
or just delegation, assigning tasks and micromanagement. I trust my team and they know that. My team's well-being is my number one priority. We are a great group of therapists and amazing human beings that really strive to creating a change in the world and really strive to creating a change in the people's lives that we work with. And I think I speak collectively for my team that they feel extremely accomplished by the work that we do.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and the second part of that, you really feel restricted when you don't have your own business. You feel that you're prescribed a certain role, you're prescribed a set of responsibilities, that you have to stay within those limits and boundaries. And I felt so contrived within
yeah.
my role so many times. I like expansion, like progression. I enjoy innovation and technology. Like I said, my curiosity is boundless. I'm always curious about new things. What else can I try? And if I go directly to my supervisor, or when I used to do that, I've always felt that there was some sort of limitation and it would
Yeah.
frustrate me so much. So I would walk out of my meetings with management with a lot of frustration,
Yeah.
disappointment, dissatisfaction. And that really creates an effect on your health, I would say. It doesn't just
For
create
sure.
stress in your life and your body, but it makes you feel so uninspired. And
Yeah.
that's the part where you start to question, is this really for me? Can I really grow here? And I felt stuck at my previous job when I worked for the higher education. I felt there was no growth. There was job security for me, obviously. And no matter what type of ideas I presented to the management, they were always shut down, whether it was budget restrictions, whether it's not within my responsibilities, whether they just weren't inspired enough by the idea. And I knew very early on, at some point, I'm going to have to venture out on my own. The best
Yeah.
decision of my life.
That's
One
so
of the best
cool.
decisions of my life.
And I think you're so right too. I think especially for someone who's really, really creative and like they thrive off of what they're doing for work. Like if you're not able to implement some of your like new ideas and like be creative and see that brought to fruition, then it does like start to affect your health,
Yes.
even. And I feel like so many people like you talk to that, they work in corporate or wherever, really you can work wherever and be restricted by management, but they'll be like just kind of like going through the motions, but they're not really like doing much because it's just like natural because maybe they have been shot down so many times or they've like almost like lost that kind of inspiration. And I do feel like as like an entrepreneur you're allowed a lot more freedom of like, okay, I want to do it this way. Like they're doing it this way, but I want to do it this way because this is better.
But that's what innovation is, right?
Yeah.
Allowing mistakes to happen, learning from them, and then pivoting in a way that can be beneficial for you, the team, and the people that you serve, right, with your business. Entrepreneurship is so much fun because of the freedom that you experience, freedom of expression, freedom of expansion, freedom of exploration, right, experimentation, like you name it.
Yeah.
Everything comes with that. And at the same time, I think it also gives you the courage to be absolutely fierce in your ideas and your convictions and in the way that you are able to execute those ideas.
Yeah.
You can try multiple ways, explore different options, and it also would continue to serve as a learning experience for you. It's all part of your growth.
Yeah.
It's all part of your professional development. You can't really do that within the constricted roles of prescriptive jobs that we serve at times, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have so much time on your hand that you're able to start a different hobby, that you are able to assist maybe someone else in starting a new business. You're not really working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're pretty much like always on the go, and ideas are always coming up, and you're having different conversations. You're connecting with different types of people. It creates so much excitement and just that vigor for life where you start to feel, what's next for me? Like, what
Yeah.
else can I do? How much more can I accomplish? Or can I try something different? That type of freedom is very purpose driven. It creates
Yeah.
so much meaning in your life. And I wish that many people could experience that.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. It does. It creates like a whole new purpose. And I do think it takes like a special kind of purpose per person too. Like maybe not everyone has that drive necessarily, or like has, maybe that's not their purpose. Maybe they are like, you know what, I just like really, I'm like super into this thing outside of work,
Yeah.
and like I just want to work, and then it feels like that little passion, like my
Yes.
passion that I have, and that's like my main thing. But I think a lot more people have it in them than people realize too, kind of, almost. Yeah, well, cool. Well, I want to get into talking too a little bit more about as well, like how you and your team kind of work with clients and everything. I know that you mentioned that you have kind of a lot of different certifications working with people on a relationship level, with couples. You're a sex therapist as well. And so how do you kind of primarily work with people? Is it primarily couples therapy, or I know you have a team also who does other things as well?
So I specialize in couples therapy. A few of my team members do see couples as well. One of my
Yeah.
therapists is now also pursuing a certification as a sex therapist. But, referring to the integrative approach, it's more like a holistic model that
Yeah.
I really wanted to establish in a practice that worked beautifully for everyone, because we're able to serve different types of demographics and people coming from all walks of life. We also accept insurance, which opened doors for many people who cannot afford therapy.
Yeah.
Although it's a huge headache for me dealing with
Yeah.
insurance companies,
I believe
I've
it.
decided to take on that burden as opposed to giving that burden to my clients, because therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
Generally, when people consider therapy, one of the decision is made based on how much is that going to be. And
Yeah.
that's most of the times is somewhat of I would say, a driving force in them deciding that they won't be able to pursue therapy. And unfortunately, those are the people who need therapy the most.
Yeah.
So we are credentialed with multiple insurance panels. That's been very helpful. And my therapists really kind of decide on their own. I give them a lot of freedom in that type of decision making. What type of specialty do you want to pursue? Do you want to be a
Yeah.
trauma-informed therapist? Do you want to also learn more about relational therapy and provide couples therapy, family therapy? We have a licensed marriage and family therapist on staff. I have a group of interns that I supervise because I want to give them opportunity to learn, and I actually am very passionate about clinical supervision as well. And the interns have exposure to so many things in the practice. Just
Yeah.
as long as they're eager to learn and they're open to soaking up as much information as possible and practicing that, because they are given that opportunity in the practice with very close supervision. We have two trauma certified therapists. We have a financial wellness certified therapist. And
Wow, that sounds
yes,
interesting.
we actually run a financial wellness group. We've already done 4 rounds of financial wellness group very successfully.
That's cool.
Someone who is also an art therapist we have on staff. Who else? We
That's
have a
so cool.
certified Reiki therapist who is also a wellness coach, who is
Wow.
also, I hope I can say that she's a badass.
Yeah, you definitely can.
She has the most amazing personality, very driven, very passionate, and
That's so
she's
cool.
been doing meditation, walk-in hours, just open to everyone, absolutely for free, just so that we can once again create that inclusive environment for everyone to take advantage of our services. So she's been doing it on a weekly basis for her now.
That's so cool, honestly. And like it sounds like y'all have so many different options for everyone. Like it's like, okay, you kind of come in and you're like, okay, I'm having these issues, and then you have like, okay, you can choose from all these different options
Yes,
that we have because we have so many therapists. And I think that's the really cool thing too about a practice like the size of yours, where you have like 20 different practitioners. Like each individual has something very unique to offer people, and like one person would work better with you, and then maybe one other person would work better with another person on the staff too, and so they kind of get that autonomy of choice as well.
they do. Absolutely, they do. And I make sure that we create the best match possible based on the consultation calls, which are absolutely free. We conduct those consultation calls and we decide, I make a suggestion. Would you
Yeah.
like to work with this therapist? This is their bio, read their profile. Let me know if you're interested to have another consultation call with the therapist. And most of the times, the matches, I would say at least 90% of the times, the matches work out very well.
Yeah,
But sometimes, there could be a mismatch. So we have another
of course.
conversation with the client and we do a rematch. And the second time around, usually it works out. And that's extremely important because we do create a huge impact on their lives. You
Yeah.
know, our clients really do look up to us. They hold us with this so much expertise. And we're not advice givers by no
Yeah.
means, but we create this sort of guiding experience, right, where we navigate the clients towards making the life decisions on their own. We provide the tools and the skills and the environment, the safety that they require to be in a space where they can make those decisions themselves
Yeah.
and learn so much about themselves and their relationships. It's obviously a very gradual change. And therapy for us, it's not just talk therapy. It's an experience of growth. It's an experience of self-development, self-awareness. And it's a space where you choose what it is that you'd like to do with your life, right?
Yeah.
They're active participants in the changes that they make while they're in therapy. That's extremely important to us.
Yeah, I think that no, I think you're 100% right, because sometimes we maybe like get it in our minds, like even like working really in any industry, sometimes you can have like a goal for somebody, and like if that's not what they're trying to achieve, then they're not going to like want to do that, because they're like, wait, that's not even what I want. Like, why are you trying
Hmm.
to direct me in this
Yeah.
direction? Like, it's my life.
That's what at times coaches do. That's
Yeah.
why we don't do coaching.
Yeah.
And in therapy, it's a completely different experience. We have them set up the goals that they believe initially, that they believe
Yeah.
are the goals that they need to accomplish in therapy. We have a conversation, maybe make a few adjustments, and we start slow. Because for us to build that initial rapport with the client is really important. If that rapport is not built, you will not solicit any sort of change. You will not be able to accomplish any sort of goals. So, and you can always make changes along the way. We do sort of like this review sessions with clients where we ask them, I would like for you to provide feedback to me.
Yeah.
What has worked for you so far? What hasn't worked? How have you been feeling in therapy with me? What are some of the things that you've accomplished in your life outside of therapy that you're proud of? So those type of sessions have to happen periodically in order for us to do a check-in with clients to make sure that they're on the right trajectory towards the change that they really desire. And I do that with couples as well. Sometimes I hold individual sessions with partners too to do a check-in to make sure that they're tuned in into the relationship, into therapy sessions with me, and into their own relationship with themselves. I always say that the quality of your life would be determined by the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And then the better your relationship that you have with yourself, it would determine the quality of relationships you have with others. So the core of my practice is that I look at the person as a whole and I give them the agency, the opportunity to be like the driving force behind their decisions, behind the change that they want to accomplish, and recognizing that they are in control, that they can do whatever they want as long as they have the necessary tools, the necessary support, and the skills that are required for that type of a change.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, and I think it's so cool too how your relationship with yourself, obviously, like you said, is like the most important relationship in your life, but it also almost like shows a mirror. Like when you look at, say, your relationship with yourself, or like your relationship with your partner, or like your relationship with your mom or whoever. It's almost like a mirror kind of to see like what kind of relationship with you have with yourself as well too.
Absolutely. Yes. And many people struggle with that, right?
Yeah. It is
I think
hard.
it's extremely, and there are a lot of things that determine that relationship and the quality of it. The way that you grew up, your family unit, the peers that you associated yourself with, your first romantic experiences, whether they
Yeah.
started as a teenager or as a young adulthood, right? All of that determines a relationship that you have with yourself. That's why we are constantly in a space of growth. We're constantly in a space of change. Change really is the only constant in our lives. And many people are terrified of change, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of longevity, you have to consider change in that as well, right? What
Yeah.
type of changes are you making in your life? Are those beneficial to the longevity and the quality of your life? And I actually was just reading an article. There was recently a huge study concluded by Harvard University. And that study was done throughout the decades. They were leading the same group of people through different, through their lifespans. I think from
Okay.
young adulthood all the way until 85 years old.
Wow.
And they've determined that longevity is very much dependent on the quality of your relationships. And it's
Yeah.
not that you would live a much longer life, but the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships, like your health, your mental well-being, your success, even like your moods, and whether
Yeah.
you go through different motions of like seasonal depression. All of that played the part. How you make decisions in your life, how you connect with other people. The healthier the relationships that you have with the people who are constantly in your life, who are like your love partners, your parents, your siblings, right? Your children, the better relationships that you have with that immediate person who's always next to you, the better equipped you are for the longevity in your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely believe it. I feel like that's also one thing that people kind of forget about. Like when they're thinking about longevity, or like even like just like their health and their wellness, I think a lot of people forget that relationships and community is a really, really important piece to that. Like, yes, you can eat healthy and go to the gym and all of that, but it's like you also have to look at your relationships, and those relationships start with, like we said, your relationship with yourself too. So it's like
Absolutely.
it's going inward too, so that those outward relationships can be better as well.
Absolutely. And there are ways that you can actually start slow. It's not like this huge upheaval that you have to do
Yeah.
and a drastic change. It's a step by step, creating routines, making better decisions, being very self-aware, working on your emotional intelligence, reading, prioritizing self-care, and associating and aligning yourself with places, people, and circumstances that serve you, that
Yeah,
don't drain your energy, right? Many
for
people
sure.
stay in toxic relationships for years.
Yeah.
And it's one of the saddest things to see. And you see like this amazing people who have this great potential and they stay in this toxic relationships for so many years, which takes everything away, like the
Yeah.
narcissistic relationships, right? Or abusive relationships. There is a lot more psychology behind that for the reasons why they stay. But that's what I mean. You have someone sitting in front of you who presents a lot of physical symptoms, and then you start to gather their history. They start reporting that they just came out of a narcissistic relationship, right? And
Yeah.
they think something is physically wrong with them, but that's trauma sitting in their body and
Yeah.
manifesting itself through those signs and symptoms, letting them know you need to do something about this, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of, we actually also do somatic trauma therapy in our
Okay.
practice that works with the mind, body, and spirit. It's an amazing approach that I'm actually very passionate about. And we've conducted a somatic trauma group last year, I believe, or early this year. And we're thinking of starting a new group again very soon, which was also a great success.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I am a huge believer of like everything is so interconnected, our physical, emotional, spiritual, everything. So I love stuff like that. I think that you're 100% right too, saying that like these different traumas like sit in our body and can sometimes act, and we feel them physically even,
Hmm.
which is it's kind of like a new concept when you're like first hearing about it. Then I feel like you realize you're like, yeah, it would make sense that everything is connected, you know?
Yes, and it stays with you. And many
Yeah,
people don't realize because it kind of stays in your unconscious. It starts to manifest itself at most random times, or unless there is some sort of a trigger in your environment, and an internal trigger that may finally be like, it's almost like an alarm goes off in your
yeah.
body where it just keeps building up. And if you don't do something about it, some people get really, really sick.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're 100% right. Well, tell everyone, what is the best way to find you online? What is the best way to find Evolve and connect with you? Also, you all offer telehealth and telemedicine as well
Yes,
as
yes.
physical too, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
not just in New York. We're actually in New York, New Jersey, now in Texas,
Awesome.
Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. So the website is evolveintegrativetherapy.com. You can always outreach our website. You can call the number 929. We're on Instagram, Evolve Integrative Therapy. We're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone is interested in individual therapy, family therapy, couples therapy, please reach out to us. We're happy to have a consultation call. And like I said before, we are paneled with multiple insurance companies, so we'd be happy to take your insurance if we are in network, obviously.
Of course. Yeah, no, and I'll put all those links too in the show notes as well for easy access for all the listeners. But I really, really appreciate you coming on. It was such a great conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. This was so much fun.
Thanks.